Brielle and Lila were stepsisters who happened to look almost identical. Lila was soft-spoken and quiet, while Brielle appeared fierce and bold. Despite their different personalities, both were incredibly beautiful. Lila woke up early like she always did. The sun wasn't even up yet, but she had to start working. Lila lived in a small house behind a big, shiny mansion. The mansion belonged to Brielle's family, and Brielle was a rich, spoiled girl. Lila wasn't rich. She was poor, and she worked as a maid in the mansion to take care of her sick mother. Camille, Lila's mother, used to be the first wife of Brielle's father, Richard. But something bad happened long ago. Camille was blamed for something she didn't do, and Richard threw her out of the mansion. He only let them stay in a tiny bungalow after Lila begged him to help her sick mother. Lila didn't like working in the mansion. Brielle and her mother Miranda were always mean to her. Brielle would make Lila do all the hard work, like scrubbing the floors, washing dishes, and cleaning Brielle's fancy clothes. No matter how much effort Lila put into doing things perfectly, she still got yelled at by Brielle. The big house was cold and quiet as Lila started her chores. She moved quickly, making sure everything was perfect because she knew Brielle would check. Her hands were rough from all the cleaning she had to do every day, but she didn't complain. She had to keep working so her mother could have medicine and food. After cleaning the floor, Lila went to the kitchen to get water, but before she could even take a sip, Brielle appeared. Brielle was wearing a beautiful dress, her hair all shiny and perfect. She looked at Lila with a mean smile. Brielle smirked. "Lila, I want the floors to be spotless before Nathaniel arrives. And make sure you stay out of sight. I don't want anyone to see you. It's embarrassing." Lila said softly, "Yes, Miss Brielle. I'll finish before he comes." Nathaniel was a handsome, charming young man in his early 30s. He was the son of a multi-billion-dollar company owner. Lila felt a lump in her throat, but she didn't argue. She knew Brielle didn't like her, but she couldn't do anything about it. Brielle's words always hurt, but Lila had no choice. She needed this job to help her mother. Lila's mother, Camille, was the only thing that kept her going. Even though life was hard, Lila loved her mother and would do anything to take care of her. When Lila finished her chores, she slipped away to the small bungalow at the back of the mansion, where her mother waited for her. The bungalow was old and falling apart, but it was home. Inside, Camille lay on a bed, weak from her illness. Camille smiled when she saw Lila, but it was a tired smile. She was sick and couldn't move much. Camille softly said, "Lila, you've been working hard again, haven't you? You shouldn't push yourself so much." Lila replied with a smile, "It's okay, Mama. I don't mind. As long as we're together, I'll keep working. We'll get through this." Even though Lila smiled, her heart felt heavy. She wished things were different. She wished she didn't have to work so hard and that her mother wasn't sick. Lila wished she could expose her stepmom, but she had no evidence. Lila remembered a time when things were much better. Back then, she didn't have to work as a maid. She lived in the big mansion with her mother and father. Her father used to love Camille very much. They were happy. But all that changed when Miranda and Brielle came into their lives. Miranda was Richard's secretary, and the two had an affair that resulted in Miranda becoming pregnant. Not wanting to give birth out of wedlock, Miranda convinced Richard to marry her as his second wife. When Miranda moved into the mansion, she became extremely jealous of Camille. Miranda hated how Richard gave Camille all his attention and longed to be the most important person in the house. In her desperation, Miranda did something terrible. She falsely accused Camille of having an affair with one of the male workers in the mansion and poisoned her, causing Camille to fall ill and remain under Miranda's control. Believing Miranda's lies, Richard angrily threw Camille and Lila out of the house, calling Camille a prostitute. He went further, telling Camille to go find Lila's real father, fully convinced by Miranda's deceit. Lila was just a little girl when all this happened. She didn't understand why her mother was crying or why her father was yelling. All she knew was that one day they were no longer allowed to stay in the big, beautiful mansion. Instead, they had to live in the small bungalow behind the house. Lila tried to be strong for her mother, but it was hard. Her mother got sick shortly after they moved. She was poisoned, and the illness made her weak. She couldn't work, so Lila had to do whatever she could to take care of her. Every day, Lila cleaned the mansion. She was only 13 when she was forced to start working there as a maid, just so she and her mother could have something to eat. The work was exhausting. Her back constantly ached, her hands throbbed, and there were moments when she wanted to break down and cry. But she never allowed herself to shed tears in front of Brielle or Miranda. They would only mock her if she did. Miranda mocked Lila. "Look at you, Lila, so weak, just like your mother. Don't think you'll ever be anything more than a maid in this house." Brielle laughed. "Ha, it's true, you'll always be poor. No one will ever care about you." The words hurt, but Lila swallowed her pain. She had to stay strong for her mother. Whenever the work got too hard, Lila would go back to the bungalow to see her mother. Even though Camille was sick, she was still Lila's biggest comfort. Camille was always kind and loving, even though she was in pain. One day, after a long day of cleaning, Lila sat by her mother's side. She held her mother's hand, trying to be brave. Lila whispered, "Mama, do you think things will ever get better?" Camille gently said, "I believe it will, Lila. You are strong and you have a kind heart. Good things will come to you, my love." But Lila wasn't so sure. Every day felt like a struggle. Brielle and Miranda made her life difficult, and she felt like she had no power to change anything. She was just a poor maid and no one seemed to care about her. Lila often dreamed of a better life, one where her mother was healthy and her father loved them again. But those dreams felt so far away. In reality, she was stuck. Stuck cleaning floors for people who hated her. Stuck living in a tiny house that felt more like a prison than a home. Lila didn't know what the future held, but she had to keep going. She had no choice. She had to keep working to take care of her mother. It was all she could do. Brielle was excited. She was going to be engaged to Nathaniel, the son of a very rich man. Nathaniel's family owned a lot of businesses, and they were even richer than Brielle's family. Brielle had always wanted to marry someone rich, and now her dream was coming true. Miranda, Brielle's mother, was just as excited. She wanted everyone to believe that her daughter was the perfect girl, beautiful, rich, and pure. Miranda told everyone that Brielle had never been with a man before. She said that Brielle was a good, innocent girl. But that wasn't true. Brielle had lied to Nathaniel and his family. Brielle and Miranda were both good at pretending. They wanted to make sure that Nathaniel and his family believed Brielle was perfect. Miranda even planned to host Brielle's engagement party in an extravagant way, wanting to show off how wonderful and flawless their family appeared to be. Miranda invited Nathaniel to a family party at their mansion, hoping it would be a chance for Brielle and Nathaniel to spend more time together and strengthen their relationship. When Nathaniel and his family arrived at the mansion, Brielle greeted him with a warm smile. Miranda quickly joined them, escorting the guests inside and giving them a proper, gracious welcome, eager to impress and set the perfect tone for the evening. Lila was there too, but she wasn't allowed to join the party. She was working in the kitchen, helping to prepare the food and clean up after the guests. She could hear the music and laughter from the party, but she wasn't a part of it. She wished she could at least be accepted as part of the family for once. "I guess that won't be happening anytime soon," she whispered to herself, her face clouded with sadness. Lila didn't mind staying in the background. She wasn't used to big parties or fancy clothes. She was just trying to do her job and stay out of trouble, but it was hard not to think about how different her life was from Brielle's. While Brielle was out there, surrounded by rich people, Lila was alone in the kitchen washing dishes. As the party went on, Miranda made sure to tell everyone how perfect her daughter was. Miranda proudly said, "My Brielle is not only beautiful, but she's also pure. She's never been with a man. Nathaniel would be lucky to have her as his wife." Nathaniel's mother smiled, clearly impressed. She believed everything Miranda said. Nathaniel, however, wasn't really paying attention. He smiled politely, but his thoughts were elsewhere. Something about Brielle didn't feel right to him. He couldn't explain it, but he felt like there was something off about her. But he couldn't care much. Meanwhile, Brielle was nervous. She knew her mother was lying, and she was worried that Nathaniel would find out the truth. She couldn't afford for him to know she wasn't as pure and perfect as she claimed to be. She was determined to make sure everything went smoothly so she could marry Nathaniel, live a life of luxury, and be the talk of the town. As the night went on, Brielle's plan started to form in her mind. She needed to do something drastic to ensure Nathaniel didn't find out her secret, and for that she would need Lila. When the party ended and the guests began to leave, Brielle found Lila in the kitchen. Brielle, smiling sweetly, "Lila, I've a favor to ask. Come with me." Lila looked up, surprised. Brielle was never this nice to her, and she didn't trust the way she was smiling, but she followed her to a quiet corner of the mansion. Brielle in a low voice, "I need your help with something important. Nathaniel must believe I'm perfect, but I need you to do something for me to make sure he doesn't doubt me." Lila felt a knot form in her stomach. She didn't like where this was going. "Lila?" Hesitantly, "What do you want me to do?" Brielle replied coldly, "You will take my place, just for one night. Nathaniel must never know I'm not as pure as he thinks. You're untouched, therefore he will never know." Lila's eyes widened in shock. Brielle wanted her to deceive Nathaniel, to sleep with him so Brielle could keep her secret safe. Lila, shakily, "No, I can't do that. It's wrong." But Brielle wasn't taking no for an answer. She grabbed Lila's arm, her voice turning sharp and threatening. "You don't have a choice, Lila. If you don't do this, I'll make sure your mother's suppers are her last. Do you understand me? You will do as I say." Lila froze in fear. She wanted to say no, but she couldn't let her mother, Camille, be harmed. Brielle had too much power, and Lila felt utterly helpless. The words echoed in her mind. "You don't have a choice." That night, Brielle gave Lila one of her most extravagant dresses and forced her to wear it. The dress was elegant, but it made Lila feel uncomfortable and suffocated. It wasn't her. Brielle styled her hair and sprayed her with perfume. Her perfume! When Lila looked in the mirror, it was like seeing Brielle staring back at her. She felt sick to her stomach, her heart pounding, her instincts begging her to run. But she couldn't, not with Camille's safety on the line. Brielle gave Lila one last satisfied look. "Perfect," she said. "Now remember, tonight you are me. Nathaniel will believe you're me, and you mustn't say a word, and don't get too excited just because I'm letting you lie with him. This is for one night only. After tonight, you go back to being you. So act right, stay quiet, do exactly as I told you." Lila nodded, though every part of her was screaming to stop. Brielle drove her to Nathaniel's mansion and parked outside. Then she called him, pretending to be herself. "I'm waiting outside," she said. Nathaniel, thinking it was Brielle, promised to come down as soon as he straightened up his room. When Nathaniel stepped out and saw Lila standing there, disguised as Brielle, he was captivated. She looked stunning, radiant. His heart skipped a beat. "Brielle, you look absolutely stunning." Lila gave him a weak smile, trying to stay composed. "Don't mind me. Come in." Meanwhile, Brielle waited in her car. She wasn't going anywhere. She needed to be sure the night went exactly as planned. Inside, Nathaniel poured Lila a glass of wine and smiled warmly. Lila froze, a wave of panic crashing over her. Her chest tightened. Nathaniel moved closer, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. "You look beautiful tonight, Brielle." Lila's lips trembled, but she didn't speak. She simply nodded, terrified her voice would betray her. Nathaniel didn't notice anything was wrong. His eyes were soft, kind. Lila felt a deep sadness. He didn't deserve this. He thought he was with Brielle, the woman he planned to marry, but it was all a lie. As Nathaniel touched her hand, tears stung Lila's eyes. She wanted to stop everything to tell him the truth, but Brielle's voice echoed, "If you don't do this, your mother will suffer." Nathaniel led her to the bed. Lila's heart shattered. She felt like a prisoner in a nightmare, but she had no choice. He whispered to her, "Your lips are so soft, your skin like silk. I can't wait to make you my wife." He slowly undressed her, and they made love. Afterward, Nathaniel lay beside her, gently holding her hand. Lila fought back tears, burying her emotions. He spoke softly to her, unaware of the torment inside her. Nathaniel eventually fell asleep, but Lila couldn't. Her thoughts were heavy and unrelenting. She had lost a part of herself. She had done what Brielle demanded, and it felt like her soul had been taken. By morning, Lila slipped out of bed before Nathaniel woke. She changed out of the dress while Brielle, already at the mansion, swapped into Lila's clothes and crawled into bed beside him. Lila rushed back to the bungalow where her mother, Camille, waited. Her hands shook, and her heart was heavy with guilt. Back at the mansion, Nathaniel woke to see Brielle beside him. Smiling, he said, "I'm so happy, Brielle. I can't wait to marry you. You're everything I've ever wanted." He kissed her, but something felt off. Her lips weren't as soft, her kiss not as passionate as they had been the last time they kissed. As he slowly caressed her skin, it didn't feel like the girl he was with before. Nathaniel sensed something was off about Brielle, but in that moment, he chose to ignore his doubts. "Nathaniel, why don't you go in and freshen up before you leave?" she suggested. Brushing aside his unease, Lila arrived at the bungalow with guilt heavy in her chest. Her mother, Camille, was awake when she walked in. She looked at Lila with concern, noticing how pale and upset she seemed. "Lila, what's wrong? You look so tired," Camille said softly. Lila wanted to tell her everything, every painful truth, but she couldn't. She didn't want to worry her mother. Instead, she forced a faint smile and sat beside Camille, gently taking her hand. "It's nothing, Mama. I'm just a little tired," she whispered. Inside, however, Lila felt like she was drowning in sadness. She had betrayed Nathaniel, even though it wasn't her choice, and the guilt was slowly tearing her apart. The following days passed, but whenever Nathaniel was with Brielle, he didn't feel the joy he had when he was with Lila that night. Nathaniel couldn't shake the strange feeling in his heart. Something was different. Brielle had seemed softer, quieter when they were together. It wasn't like her usual bold and confident self. Nathaniel noticed small things. Her touch was gentler. Her silence felt more natural. It didn't make sense to him. Nathaniel tried to brush it off, telling himself that Brielle was just nervous about the upcoming wedding, but the more he thought about it, the more uneasy he felt. He loved Brielle, or at least he thought he did, but lately something about her didn't feel right. And the girl he had been with that night, could it really have been Brielle? Nathaniel began to pay more attention to Brielle whenever they were together. She still smiled at him, still played the part of the perfect fiancé, but Nathaniel couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. Or maybe it was him who had changed. He was starting to see things he hadn't noticed before. One day, Nathaniel visited the mansion for a lunch arranged by Miranda. Everything was lavish as usual, with fine dishes and sparkling silverware. Miranda and Brielle were both eager to impress him, laughing and talking as if nothing could ever go wrong. But Nathaniel wasn't paying much attention to their conversation. Instead, he was watching Brielle closely, trying to understand why his feelings were so unsettled. Brielle, on the other hand, was starting to feel more relaxed. Her plan had worked. Nathaniel hadn't noticed a thing that night, and he seemed as smitten with her as ever. She was confident that everything would go smoothly from now on. The wedding was getting closer, and soon she would be married into one of the wealthiest families. Brielle was sure that no one would ever discover the truth. After lunch, Brielle yelled at Lila to clean the table. Lila rushed to do it but tripped and fell after stepping on Brielle's leg. Brielle had deliberately put her leg in Lila's way to embarrass her. "You stupid girl! You can't do anything right!" Brielle shouted, raising her hand to hit Lila, but Nathaniel stopped her before she could. "Brielle, stop it! It was a mistake. You shouldn't treat people badly just because they work for you," Nathaniel said firmly. Brielle felt a bit embarrassed but smirked to hide it. "Don't feel sorry for her. She's lazy, and no matter what I do, she never appreciates it. She just wants your attention. I know her better than you do. She's only pretending by falling down." Brielle walked closer to Nathaniel and placed her hand on his shoulder. "Nathaniel, I'm sorry. This isn't like me. I just got tired of her behavior. I don't want her to ruin our day. But if you want, I can apologize to her," she said, trying to act innocent. Nathaniel looked at her, clearly seeing through her act. "Don't worry, you don't have to," he said. Brielle smiled wickedly as she looked at Lila. "Lila, take the plates to the kitchen, and sorry for yelling." Lila quickly picked up the plates and took them to the kitchen. Nathaniel excused himself to step outside for some fresh air, needing time to clear his mind. As he walked through the garden behind the mansion, he stumbled upon Lila, who was heading to the bungalow where she stayed with her mother. "Lila, hey," he said softly. Lila kept her head down, avoiding eye contact, and tried to walk past him quickly. Nathaniel gently grabbed her hand to stop her. "Lila, why are you running away? I won't bite. Can you please look up, or are you shy?" Nathaniel asked. Lila replied softly, "No, I just don't want Brielle to get angry if she sees me with you." "Oh, I see. Are you afraid of Brielle?" Nathaniel asked, his curiosity growing. "It's nothing," Lila said quickly, hurrying away, avoiding more questions. Nathaniel was curious about why Lila was acting that way, but as he walked back inside, he couldn't stop thinking about her. There was something about Lila that he couldn't ignore, even though he didn't fully understand why. That feeling, the one that had been bothering him since that night, grew stronger. Brielle's call snapped him out of his thoughts. "Nathaniel, is everything okay? You seemed a bit distracted," Brielle asked. "It's nothing, Brielle. I was just thinking. Do you want to talk about it?" "No, it's personal. I'll be going now. We'll see each other again soon," Nathaniel said, eager to get away. Brielle smiled and offered to walk him out. "All right, Nathaniel. I'll walk you out." "No need. I don't want to bother you," he replied, giving her a quick kiss on the cheek before leaving quickly, needing space to clear his head. As the wedding approached, Nathaniel and Brielle spent more time together, growing closer. Nathaniel visited the mansion often, always trying to speak with Lila whenever he could, but Brielle was quick to interrupt. One day, while leaving after a visit to Brielle, Nathaniel saw Lila working in the garden. He walked up to her, trying to initiate a conversation. Lila was uncomfortable. She didn't want to be around him for even a minute, but this time Nathaniel gave her the opportunity to leave. "Lila, you seem so quiet. I hardly ever see you. You must work really hard around here," Nathaniel said. "Yes, I just do what I can," Lila replied softly. Nathaniel watched her for a moment. There was something about Lila that felt familiar. Something about her soft voice and gentle demeanor stirred something deep inside him. It reminded him of that night, of the girl he had been with. The thought unsettled him, but he quickly brushed it away. Still, Lila's shy, kind nature left an impression on him. She was so different from Brielle, so humble and quiet. He found himself thinking about her more and more, even though he knew he shouldn't, especially since he would be marrying Brielle soon. Meanwhile, Lila tried to avoid any contact with Nathaniel. Every time she saw him, it reminded her of that night, and the guilt gnawed at her. She didn't want to deceive him, but she had no choice. The longer the secret went on, the harder it became for Lila to bear. She began to wonder if Nathaniel could already sense that something was wrong. Lila made an excuse to escape. "Sir Nathaniel, I would like to take my leave. I have something to do inside," she said softly. She quickly left, while Nathaniel watched her closely as she worked away. One evening, Lila sat by her mother's bedside, feeling the weight of everything she had been forced to do. Her mother's condition was worsening, and Lila felt more helpless than ever. She had sacrificed everything, her innocence, her dignity, all to protect her mother, but the guilt was slowly crushing her. "Mama, I don't know how much longer I can do this," Lila whispered. Camille gently reached out and touched Lila's hand, sensing her daughter's pain. "Lila, you've always been so strong. I wish things were different for you, my love. You don't deserve this life." Tears filled Lila's eyes. She didn't want her mother to know how hard things were getting, but it was becoming too much to bear. Each time she saw Nathaniel, and each time Brielle looked at her with that smug smile, Lila felt herself breaking a little more inside. Meanwhile, Nathaniel was always looking for ways to talk to Lila whenever he came to see Brielle. Even though Lila tried to keep her distance, Nathaniel wasn't making it easy. One day he noticed Lila walking toward the small bungalow near the mansion, so he decided to follow her there. When he arrived, he knocked on the door. Inside, Lila was trying to get some rest before her evening chores. Hearing the knock, she opened the door, surprised to see Nathaniel. "Sir Nathaniel, why are you here?" Lila said, her voice trembling. Nathaniel raised an eyebrow. "Wait, you live here?" he asked. Lila nodded. "Yes, I do. I thought you stayed at the mansion with the other maids." Lila's mother, Camille, heard the voices. "Lila, who's there with you?" Camille called. Lila quickly ushered Nathaniel out. "Please, you have to go. I need to help my mom," she said, gently shutting the door, hoping her mother wouldn't ask any more questions. Nathaniel walked away, his mind swirling with questions. Why was Lila living separately with her mother? Why did she always push him away? He couldn't stop thinking about her. Meanwhile, Brielle had noticed Nathaniel's interest in Lila. She didn't like it, and she decided it was time to put Lila back in her place before she got any ideas about Nathaniel. "Don't think I haven't seen it. I gave you a chance that night. But don't push it. Stay in your place or you'll regret it." Lila, feeling scared, lowered her head. "I swear it's nothing. I'll never tell Nathaniel about that night. He just wants to talk, and I've been trying to avoid him." But before she could finish, Brielle slapped her hard across the face. "Stay away from my man or you'll see what I can do," Brielle threatened her. Lila held her cheek, trying to hold back her tears, and quickly left the room. Lila began avoiding Nathaniel even more, and when she couldn't avoid him, she acted cold and rude. "Lila, why are you avoiding me?" Nathaniel asked. Lila, with tears, "Don't you get it? Leave me alone. Go be with your fiancé. I hate seeing you around. You're just making things harder for me." Nathaniel was hurt and confused by Lila's sudden harshness, but decided to respect her wishes. Each time he visited, he kept his distance from her, even though it pained him. But Lila, watching him drift away, felt sad, even though she told herself it was for the best. Despite Lila's harsh words, Nathaniel couldn't stop thinking about her. He found himself drawn to her in a way he couldn't explain. Deep down, he knew his heart was with her, not Brielle. Nathaniel, thinking to himself, "Why do I feel this way? My heart beats for Lila, but this is impossible. She's Brielle's maid and my fiancé's look-alike. My parents would never understand, and Brielle loves me. I took her virginity that night, or at least I thought I did, but something doesn't add up." One evening, Nathaniel and Brielle went out together. Nathaniel studied her, trying to make sense of the nagging doubts that wouldn't leave his mind. The memory of that night kept replaying in his thoughts, and the more he thought about it, the less sure he was that it was Brielle he had been with. Even though Brielle put so much effort into their relationship, Nathaniel couldn't bring himself to feel the same way. She noticed his lack of affection, but promised herself she would find a way to win his heart completely. One afternoon, while they were sitting in the mansion's grand living room, Brielle brought up wedding plans. "Nathaniel, we need to talk about the flowers for the wedding. I was thinking white roses would be perfect." Nathaniel, lost in thought, barely heard her. He'd been distracted all day, his mind filled with questions. Brielle impatiently asked Nathaniel, "Are you even listening?" Nathaniel blinked and pulled himself back to the present, forcing a small smile, but couldn't shake his unease. "Sorry, Brielle. I've just had a lot on my mind." Brielle frowned, noticing his lack of interest. She felt a twinge of worry. Nathaniel had been so distant lately, and she couldn't understand why. Brielle, always quick to notice any change in people, felt uneasy about Nathaniel's recent coldness. She was used to being in control and didn't like his distant behavior. "Nathaniel, you seem lost in thought all the time now. I don't understand why you're acting this way toward me. I'm your fiancé, remember? But if you don't want to talk, fine, I'll go to my room. No point in this conversation." Nathaniel felt a bit guilty. "Wait, Brielle, I'm sorry." He moved closer and hugged her from behind. "I promise this won't happen again." He kissed her cheek, making Brielle's eyes light up. Her act had worked. "You promise?" Brielle softly asked. Nathaniel nodded. As he was leaving, he bumped into Lila. This time, instead of avoiding her, he held her arm. That evening, Nathaniel called Lila. "Lila, you're not avoiding me today." "Mr. Nathaniel, I wasn't trying to avoid you," Lila nervously answered. "You don't need to be afraid, Lila. I know you're scared of Brielle, but I won't let her see us together." Lila looked at him softly, unsure of what to say. "Lila, I feel something special when I'm around you. Please stop avoiding me." "Nathaniel, you wouldn't understand." Nathaniel's eyes softened. "Then help me understand." Lila's eyes teared up, and before she knew it, Nathaniel leaned in and kissed her. Surprised, Lila quickly pushed him away but felt butterflies in her stomach. "Lila, no matter how hard you try, you can't hide your feelings. I can feel them in your heartbeat." He left her standing there stunned. Lila placed her hand on her chest, tears streaming down her face. She knew this couldn't work no matter what Nathaniel tried. Meanwhile, Brielle noticed that Lila and Nathaniel were still close. Furious, she promised to make Lila suffer. The engagement party was only 2 days away, and Nathaniel had recently bought Brielle an expensive dress worth $3,000. Brielle decided to use this as a way to punish Lila. "Lila, take this dress and make sure it's spotless. My engagement is tomorrow, and if anything goes wrong with it, you'll be in trouble." Lila nodded, unaware of Brielle's plan. After she had washed and dried the dress, Brielle secretly instructed one of the maids to stain it. The next day, Lila brought the dress to Brielle. "Here's your dress, Miss Brielle. Should I put it on the bed?" Brielle, "No, darling, I want you here when I put it on, to make sure it looks perfect." As Brielle slipped on the dress, Lila noticed a large stain on it. Brielle immediately screamed and began fake crying, catching Lila completely by surprise. "Oh, Lila, you've ruined my dress. What did you do? I always knew you were jealous of me and Nathaniel. Now look at the mess you've caused." She slapped Lila hard, leaving her struggling to explain. "Lila, I swear, when I brought it to the mansion, there was no stain." "Oh, really? And who put it there then? Me? You pathetic liar. I always knew you were dishonest, but this time you'll pay for it." Miranda heard the shouting and hurried into the room. "Brielle, my darling, what happened?" "Lila ruined the beautiful dress Nathaniel gave me for the engagement party." Miranda, in rage, slapped Lila and glared at her. "You ungrateful brat, you'll pay for this dress, Lila, no matter what it takes. I don't have that kind of money. I don't even know how the dress got stained. It was fine when I brought it back." Lila tried defending herself. "Enough. Not another word from you." Brielle, smiling slightly, turned to her mother. "Mom, I think I have an idea. Remember Alvin, my friend who owns that bar? The one where wealthy men go to drink and have fun with girls?" Miranda nodding. "Oh, yes. I think that's the perfect place for Lila. Maybe she'll enjoy working there. That kind of place suits her, don't you think?" They both laughed maliciously. Lila, horrified, begged, "Please, consider my mother. I can't work in a place like that." "Who cares about your pathetic mother? My daughter has made her decision and you will obey." Brielle smirked as she watched Lila break down. "Now get out of my room and prepare yourself for tomorrow evening. You start work then." Layla nodded, heartbroken, and left. She retreated to her room where she broke down, feeling utterly defeated. Why does she hate me so much? Why am I so powerless? I can't take this anymore. But if I refuse, my mother's life is in danger. She's all I have. I can't let her die. I have no choice. Her cries were loud enough to reach her mother, Camille, in the next room. "Lila," she called softly. "Are you all right, my love?" Camille called. Lila's voice trembled. "No, Mom. Why do we have to suffer like this? Why can't they leave us alone?" "I can't take Brielle and Miranda's cruelty any longer." "Did something happen?" Camille asked. Lila couldn't bring herself to tell her mother about Brielle's scheme. She simply shook her head, resting her head on her mother's lap. Camille stroked her hair gently. "I hate that I've put you through this, Lila. I should be the one protecting you, not the other way around. I'm sorry. Because of me, you have to suffer." Tears filled her eyes as she held her daughter close. "You should be living a life of happiness, not hardship. Please, Lila, don't do anything against your will for me. I've already caused you so much pain. Just let me go. Let me die in peace. I can't bear to see you endure this any longer." They held each other tightly, their tears falling together, both weighed down by the burden of their love and suffering. Lila determined, "No, Mom. Don't say that. I promise you everything will be okay, sooner or later. Just have faith. I swear I'll find a way to expose Mrs. Miranda and Brielle. We'll get Dad to believe in us again." She held her mother's hands tightly and rested her head on her chest, drawing comfort from her embrace. Camille wrapped her arms around Lila and they cried together, clinging to a small spark of hope. The next day, Lila started work at her new job. She felt the stares of the men around her, uncomfortable and self-conscious as they watched her with open interest. Her boss noticed and scolded her sharply, instructing her to keep calm and not provoke the men at Brielle and Nathaniel's engagement party. Family and friends gathered to celebrate. Brielle and Nathaniel were the center of attention, invited to dance alongside other couples. But Nathaniel's mind was elsewhere. Nathaniel thinking, "I can't see Lila anywhere. I can't believe I'm engaged to Brielle. I don't feel anything for her. Why do I keep thinking about Lila even when I'm right here with my future wife? Brielle is so happy, but I don't want to spend my life with her." Brielle noticed Nathaniel's distraction and whispered to him, maintaining a polite smile for the crowd. "Nathaniel, is something?" Brielle firmly, "Today is a beautiful day. Please don't ruin it with your thoughts. Let's just enjoy this dance." They both maintained cheerful expressions, masking the tension so the guests wouldn't notice. They continued dancing, their smiles carefully in place until the party ended. After the festivities, Miranda's mother praised Miranda. "Miranda, the party was wonderful. You really outdid yourself," Nathaniel's mom said. "I told you you could count on me," Miranda replied. "I'm thrilled to welcome your daughter as my daughter-in-law," Nathaniel's mom added. "Me too," Miranda said, sharing a laugh. "Well, Miranda, we'll be leaving now." "Don't forget what we discussed," Nathaniel's mom reminded her. "Of course not. I'll see you tomorrow to finalize everything," Miranda responded. Nathaniel's mom called out to him, "Nathaniel, it's time to go." "Coming, Mom," Nathaniel replied with a fake smile. As they left, Nathaniel's mother looked back at him with pride. "I know you're excited to make Brielle your wife," Nathaniel's mom said. Nathaniel forced a smile and nodded politely. "Good night, Brielle. We'll see you tomorrow," he added. "Good night, ma'am," Brielle responded. The following day, Nathaniel and his family returned to Brielle's home for a lunch discussion about the upcoming wedding. "Miranda and I have arranged for the wedding to be held in 3 weeks," Nathaniel's mom informed him. Nathaniel was stunned. 3 weeks? Isn't that too soon? There's so much to prepare, he replied. "Don't worry, Nathaniel. Miranda and I will handle everything. Money can take care of most things," his mom assured him. "But what about the guest list?" Nathaniel asked. "We'll handle that too. I'll get the invitations ready right away. You should be thrilled to make Brielle your wife. Isn't that right, Brielle?" Nathaniel's mom continued. Brielle beamed. "Yes, ma'am. I can't wait to be called Mrs. Nathaniel." Nathaniel was confused. The more he tried to get out of the mess of a marriage that was about to happen, the deeper he got. Why do things keep happening so fast? I'm trying to find a way to call off this marriage and it's coming up in 3 weeks. Oh my God, he thought to himself. Nathaniel couldn't continue with the family dinner, so he made an excuse to leave. "I have to leave now," he told his mom. "No, son, you can't. We haven't even been here for 30 minutes, she protested. "I know, Mom, but it's important. My friend needs me right now," Nathaniel explained. "Please, son, stay a little longer. You have to be part of this conversation," his mom urged. "Don't worry, Mom. Whatever you decide, I'll accept. Besides, after the marriage, Brielle will have me around her all the time," Nathaniel said. "You're right anyway, but please, be careful while driving," Nathaniel's mom cautioned. "I will, Mom," Nathaniel replied. He kissed his mom on the cheek and hurriedly left. Brielle knew Nathaniel wasn't excited about the marriage plans, but she didn't care. After all, in 3 weeks, she would be his wife, whether he liked it or not. Nathaniel met up with his friend Jude. "Jude? Hey, bro. Why are you so stressed out?" Jude asked. "I'm in a big mess. My marriage is in 3 weeks," Nathaniel replied. "Wow, that's good," Jude said. "Nothing is good about it, bro. I told you I don't like that girl. She's annoying and I can't possibly spend my life with her," Nathaniel said. "Then why don't you just tell her and your family that you no longer want the marriage?" Jude asked. "It's more complicated than you think," Nathaniel explained. "My mom would never forgive me if I did that without a solid reason. I agreed to marry her from the start, so calling off the wedding like that wouldn't be a good idea." "Yeah, bro, you're stuck," Jude said. "But I won't lie to you, Brielle is very, very pretty. I wish she were mine." Nathaniel sighed. "It would be much better that way. Maybe when you're closer to her, you'll see the real her." "Well, if you say so, bro, I won't argue with you. You know what? Why don't we go to our favorite bar to drink and have fun with the pretty girls? I'll call Mark and Zane to join us. At least that'll clear your head," Jude suggested. "I think that's what I need right now," Nathaniel agreed. They both left to drink away their sorrows. When Nathaniel and his friend arrived at the bar, Lila unfortunately was the one serving that evening. She spotted Nathaniel from afar, and for a moment her spirit seemed to leave her body. She froze for a few minutes, wondering how she could hide from Nathaniel. Nathaniel and his friends took a seat at a cozy spot in the bar. Jude said he'd order drinks, and one of the bar girls took their orders, then handed them over to Lila to serve. Lila didn't want to serve them, but had no choice. She carried the drinks on her tray, walking to their table with her head down. She accidentally stepped on John's foot. "Hey, young lady, watch where you're going," John yelled. "I'm sorry, it was a mistake," Lila said, her voice shaking as she apologized. Nathaniel noticed her. "Hey, why are you keeping your head down?" "Raise your head up," Nathaniel said. Lila tried to think of an excuse, but Nathaniel cut her off, raising his voice. "I said raise your head up!" Lila lifted her head, and Nathaniel was surprised to see her. "What? You work here?" he asked, surprised. Lila nodded. "Oh, I see. You're not getting enough pay, so you decided to work in a place like this," Nathaniel said angrily. "No, it's not what you think," Lila replied. "Then what?" Nathaniel asked, his voice rising. "You know what, guys? I don't feel like drinking anymore. You can go ahead without me." "Wait, Nathaniel, you need to tell us what's going on," Mark urged. "Yeah, dude, you can't keep us hanging," John added. Nathaniel left without explaining anything. Back at home, Nathaniel talked to himself. How could she work there? Why would she do that? Women, you can never trust them. They're never satisfied with money, he muttered. "I'm so disappointed in Leela, but why do I even care? It's not like I'm marrying her." Lila got home that day feeling embarrassed and angry. The next day at work, Lila served some men at a table. One of them slipped money into her shirt and asked her to sit with them. "Leave me alone, man," Lila said firmly. "Hey, girl, keep quiet. That's what you're paid for, to have fun with us. What's wrong with sitting with us and having a drink?" "If you don't want to, then why work here?" one man said. "Maybe the money you gave her wasn't enough," the other man laughed. "You're right, girl, come sit here with me. I'll give you a lot of money," the first man insisted. Lila, holding her ground, said, "Thanks, but I don't want your money." The man became angry. He grabbed Lila's hair and tried to force her to sit with them while the others laughed. At that moment, Nathaniel entered with two of his guards. He ran over and stopped the man from hurting Lila, landing a punch on his face. "How dare you hit me, you son of a..." the man yelled, throwing a punch at Nathaniel. Nathaniel dodged and hit him again, hard enough to make his nose bleed. Alvin, the bar owner, stepped in to settle the dispute and ordered some of the bar staff to hold Nathaniel and the men back. "Is this how women are treated in your bar? This place is a mess," Nathaniel said, furious. "No, sir, I assure you this won't happen again," Alvin replied, knowing that Nathaniel was a respected figure in society and could ruin his business. Alvin then apologized to Nathaniel. Don't apologize to me, apologize to her. She's the one who was assaulted by your customers, Nathaniel said. The man sneered at Nathaniel. Why do you care about her? She's just a slut. You come here because of the girls too. Are you any different? The man taunted. Lila stood with her hands clasped, fearful yet deeply grateful in her heart. She was thrilled that Nathaniel had come to her rescue. Nathaniel replied to the man firmly, "You don't get to force people to do what they're not comfortable with. Yes, she might work here, but her job is to serve you drinks, not to give you her body. If she wants to, that's her choice. But don't ever force yourself on any woman." The man sneered back. "Women are property. If she works here, she knows what she signed up for. Why are you even defending her? She's just a slut," the man said. Nathaniel stepped closer, his fists clenched. "Don't ever call her that again or I'll knock some of your teeth out," Nathaniel warned, lowering his fist but restraining himself from causing more trouble. Alvin stepped in and ordered the men to leave. "You guys need to leave before the police get involved," Alvin said. The men left angrily and Alvin apologized to Lila before departing. Nathaniel approached her gently, running his hand through her hair as he dismissed his guards. "Are you okay?" Nathaniel asked softly. Lila nodded. "Yes, thank you. You didn't have to risk yourself for me. Besides, I chose to work here, so I should expect this." "Really? Is that all you have to say? Then why didn't you agree to drink with those men?" Lila had no answer and walked away from him feeling ashamed and frustrated. Nathaniel ordered a drink and sat drinking angrily as he thought about her response. Part of him sensed Lila wasn't doing this willingly, but he was annoyed that she wasn't opening up even after he confronted her multiple times. As he drank, Lila came over, concerned by how intoxicated he'd become. "Lila, please stop. You don't have to drink so much," Nathaniel said. "Why do you care? You act like you don't enjoy men touching you, but then you pretend otherwise. Come, sit with me," he slurred in a drunken state. "I bet you wouldn't reject me if I offered to pay you to make me happy tonight." Lila knew he was drunk and likely angry over everything that had happened. She could tell he was hurt, and part of her sensed that he might have fallen for her just as she had for him. She sat beside him, trying to calm him down. Nathaniel rested his head on her shoulder, falling asleep as she softly ran her fingers through his hair while he slept. Lila couldn't hold back her tears and whispered her truth. "I'm so sorry, Nathaniel. You don't deserve any of this, but I had no choice that night. It was me with you. I can't get you out of my mind since then. I was forced into it. I never wanted it to happen this way. If I could turn back time, I would." A tear fell from her cheek onto Nathaniel's face. Although he could faintly hear her words, he was too intoxicated to fully understand. Lila wiped her eyes gently and let him rest his head on the table. She went outside to call his guards to take him home. Nathaniel woke up with a sharp pain in his head, realizing he was back in his room. As he tried to piece together what happened the previous night, he recalled being with Lila before passing out. Bits of her words from that night echoed faintly in his memory, leaving him unsure if it was real or just a trick of his imagination. Determined to find out, he resolved to confront Lila about what happened the next day. Nathaniel went to the bar where he spotted Lila. Seeing him, she quickly ducked into the women's restroom, hoping to avoid any conversation. However, Nathaniel was determined. He waited outside, refusing to leave until she came out. After a while, Lila assumed he'd gone, but as she stepped out, there he was, waiting by the door. Startled, she tried to retreat, but Nathaniel grabbed her arm gently but firmly, cornering her as he demanded answers. "Lila, enough of these games. What really happened last night?" Nathaniel asked. Lila, faint confusion in her eyes, replied, "Last night? Nothing happened. You just got drunk and your men took you home." Nathaniel said, "Really? You must think I'm a fool," and then impulsively kissed her. "Lila, please stop. Someone might see us," she protested. "I don't care. I need the truth. I know it was you that night, not Brielle. Kissing you just confirmed it. The same soft, sweet lips I remember. I'm certain you said something to me last night while I was asleep, but you're hiding it. Lila, I love you. I can't get you out of my mind. Just tell me the truth. I need to hear it from you. Were you the one that night?" Lila's voice trembled as she replied, tears welling in her eyes. "Nathaniel, this isn't right. You're about to marry my stepsister. You can't love me." Nathaniel paused, shocked. "Stepsister? There's more you're not telling me." "Lila, just focus on your marriage to Brielle and leave me alone," she said, breaking free from his hold and running off, leaving Nathaniel heartbroken. He promised himself that he wouldn't pursue her further and would try to focus on his upcoming marriage. That night, Lila arrived at the mansion before retiring to her little bungalow. She peeked into the mansion to get some of her stuff that she had placed in an abandoned storeroom, but at that moment, something shocking happened. Lila overheard Mrs. Miranda speaking to the doctor who took care of her mom. She overheard Mrs. Miranda trying to convince the doctor to help kill her father by making him sick. She also heard her talking about her involvement in making her mom sick and other things she had done to force them to leave the mansion. Lila found out that Mrs. Miranda was the one responsible for her mother's illness and that no matter how much she worked, her mother would never recover. Lila held her mouth tightly to avoid making a sound, her anger threatening to make her cause a scene. She couldn't process everything that had just happened. Not thinking straight, all she could think about was going to see Nathaniel. She left that night, not even caring about the lateness of the hour, and quickly went to Nathaniel's place. She knocked on his door, and when Nathaniel opened it, he was shocked to see her. He didn't want to let her in at first, considering what had transpired between them earlier. Lila begged him to please let her in. Seeing how stressed and tense she looked, he let her come in and gave her a glass of water to calm her down before proceeding to question her. "Nathaniel, why are you here? You told me earlier to stay away from you, right?" "I know, but I didn't mean it," Lila replied. "You didn't mean it," Nathaniel said, his voice cold. "It feels good when you hurt others. I had made up my mind to stay away from you, but it looks like you won't let that happen." Lila burst into tears. "I'm sorry, Nathaniel, I lied. You were right all along. I was the girl with you that night. Yes, I was the one, and I fell in love with you because you're the only guy who has ever touched me. I couldn't stop thinking of you. I always knew it was you, but I just wanted you to confess it with your own mouth. But I still don't understand why you did that." "Because I was forced to," she continued, her voice shaking. "I was only used as bait to get what they wanted," Nathaniel asked calmly. "What do you mean by that?" "Brielle asked me to sleep with you just because I was a virgin. She wanted to appear pure in front of you. She knew I looked a lot like her. She set me up to be with you that night for her own selfish reasons." "Then why did you agree to do such a thing if you didn't want to?" Nathaniel asked. "Because I was scared of losing my mom," Lila said, her voice breaking. She then narrated everything that had happened, from how she and her mom were thrown out of her father's mansion, to how her stepmother poisoned her mom and continued to poison her to keep her in a vegetative state. She told him everything. Nathaniel was shocked, trying to figure out how humans could be so heartless and evil. He hugged Lila tightly to keep her calm. Lila looked straight into his eyes with deep affection. Nathaniel was all she needed now to keep her calm. She tilted her neck to initiate a kiss. Nathaniel kissed her deeply and picked her up as she wrapped her legs around his waist. The kiss became more intense, and Nathaniel placed her on the couch, kissing her whole body, calming her down with his soothing voice. He slowly made love to her, taking Lila to cloud 9. This was the first time Lila experienced sex with so much passion. They both made love that night before falling asleep on the sitting room couch. The day broke and Lila and Nathaniel woke up. Lila went to the bathroom to take a shower. She told Nathaniel that she would be going to the mansion. Nathaniel told her not to worry. He would figure out a way to expose Mrs. Miranda and her daughter. Lila arrived at the mansion, and at that moment she was confronted by Brielle. "Brielle, where have you been? And why are you coming now? I see you've grown a lot of wings, huh?" "I'm sorry, Ma. I didn't mean to arrive now," Lila said. Brielle put on a wicked smile. "I see you've been making a lot of money from sleeping with those men, and now you think you can do as you like. Let me warn you, if you think you can do whatever you want just because of some little change you've been getting, you better rethink." Anyways, I won't spoil my mood today with you. Besides, I'm going to the wedding gown shop to try on my wedding dress. In 2 days, I will be Mr. Nathaniel, and you know what? I will be the talk of town. She said all of this to make Leela jealous. Brielle walked away feeling happy, but Leela, on the other hand, didn't mind what Brielle was saying to her. She knew Brielle would be exposed soon. Leela said to herself, Brielle, count your days. In no time you will be exposed and you'll be the one begging at my feet. Leela began her chores for the day. That evening, Nathaniel called Leela to come see him, saying he already had a plan to expose Mrs. Miranda. They both met and discussed how to expose Mrs. Miranda with Nathaniel's influence and power. He paid some of his men to abduct Camille's doctor, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith was taken by Nathaniel's men to an abandoned building where he was severely tortured and forced to confess everything. Everything he said was recorded as evidence. Lila was stunned to hear some of the things he confessed. She thought she had heard a lot from Mrs. Miranda's phone conversation, but more truths were unveiled by Mr. Smith. The next day at the mansion, Mrs. Miranda and her daughter Brielle were clouded with so much joy for the upcoming wedding. Brielle, Mom, I can't believe I'm getting married to Nathaniel tomorrow. I'll finally be the most talked about girl in town. From tomorrow I'll be called Mrs. Nathaniel. Yes, baby, my plan worked. You see, I told you to always trust me, that I would always give you the best in life, Mrs. Miranda said. I love you so much, Mom, Brielle replied. You're the best mom. She walked closer to her mom, bent down a little, gave her a peck, and hugged her. I know if Nathaniel sees me tomorrow in this beautiful gown, he will have no other choice but to fall in love with me. Brielle smiled triumphantly as she spoke to Lila. He surely will, she said, her voice dripping with satisfaction. The wedding day had arrived, and the guests and family gathered for the ceremony. Zena was absolutely thrilled, greeting high-profile guests as she took her seat. Richard, Lila's father, was also present, watching his daughter's wedding with mixed emotions. Brielle and Nathaniel stood opposite each other, their hands locked together. The pastor, ready to bless their union, stood beside them. Brielle beamed with joy as she gazed at Nathaniel, her face radiating excitement. But Nathaniel's mind was far from the moment. He couldn't stop thinking of Leela, imagining her standing there beside him. As the rings were presented, the pastor asked for their consent before joining them as husband and wife. Pastor Sam, Miss Brielle, will you take Mr. Nathaniel as your lawfully wedded husband? Without hesitation, Brielle answered, Yes, I do. I will take Mr. Nathaniel as my lawfully wedded husband. Pastor Sam turned to Nathaniel. Mr. Nathaniel, will you take Miss Brielle as your lawfully wedded wife? Nathaniel stood in silence, the congregation waiting for his response. After a long pause, the pastor asked again, Mr. Nathaniel, will you take Miss Brielle as your lawfully wedded wife? Still, Nathaniel remained silent. His mother, sitting in the front row, was signaling him anxiously. Brielle's mother, Elaine, put on a tight, fake smile, already sensing trouble. Brielle, thinking Nathaniel had simply lost himself in thought, tried to grab his attention by holding his hand tightly. But then Nathaniel spoke, and his words shocked everyone. I'm sorry, but I can't marry you, Brielle. My answer is no. I don't want to spend the rest of my life with a woman like you. His mother was furious, thinking her son had embarrassed their family. She moved closer to Nathaniel and whispered, What has come over you, my boy? Don't ruin this day for our family and Brielle's family. You need to get back to your senses now. Nathaniel replied calmly, Don't worry, Mom. My wedding is still going to happen, but not with Brielle. His mother, stunned, asked, What do you mean by that? I will be getting married to the love of my life, Leela, Nathaniel declared, pointing toward the door. At that moment, Leela stepped into the room, and Brielle stormed up to her in a fit of rage. She slapped Leela hard, her voice seething with jealousy. I knew it! I always knew you were jealous of me and tried to take everything from me. But you know what, this time, you'll regret it. Lila, undeterred, stopped Brielle mid-rant. Enough of your stupid threats. Then, without hesitation, she returned the slap. Brielle was taken aback, unsure where Lila had found the courage. Elaine rushed over, ready to defend her daughter, but before she could speak, the police arrived, bringing with them the doctor. Miranda, shocked, stammered, "What are you doing here? I thought I warned you not to show your face here." The doctor, standing tall in the center of the hall, began to speak. "I have a confession to make," he said, and the room fell into stunned silence. He revealed everything, the twisted schemes he and Miranda had been part of, and the plan to make Richard sick. He also revealed that Lila was Richard's biological daughter, while Brielle was not his real daughter, but the daughter of his brother. Everyone, including Richard, was left speechless by this revelation. Elaine, unable to believe her friend's betrayal, stood frozen. Richard, now furious, walked toward Miranda. "What is this I'm hearing? Is this true?" he demanded, his voice shaking with anger. Miranda, in a panic, tried to defend herself. "Of course not. This must be Lila's work. She's always been jealous of my daughter." The doctor interrupted. "Mrs. Miranda, the lies are over. I have recordings of all our conversations and the original DNA test results for Lila. The truth has finally come out." Miranda, now cornered, could say nothing. She knew the game was up. But just then, Camille was rolled into the ceremony in a wheelchair, looking a little better. Miranda's fury reached a new height as she turned her rage toward her. "I've always gotten everything easily," Miranda spat. "But your family couldn't even pay my mother well." Camille, weak but resolute, replied, "It's not my fault I was born rich, Miranda. You'll never understand how it feels to be the maid's daughter." Miranda laughed wickedly. "Well, now you know what it feels like," she sneered, "to be treated as inferior." Richard could no longer hold back his anger. He slapped Miranda hard across the face. "How dare you try to kill me over jealousy, you evil woman!" He turned to the police officers. "Take them away." As Miranda and Brielle were led away, Brielle continued to plead, but Richard ignored her. He walked toward Camille, his voice full of regret. "I'm sorry," he said, tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry for everything I did. If I hadn't had an affair with Miranda, none of this would have happened." Camille, forgiving but still hurt, held his hands. "It's not too late to make things right," she said softly. Meanwhile, Nathaniel turned to Lila, his heart full of love. He walked toward her, knelt and asked, "Lila, will you marry me?" Lila's heart soared. "Yes, I will," she replied, her voice full of emotion. Nathaniel stood up, picked her up in his arms, and kissed her passionately. His mother, smiling through her tears, called out, "Enough of the kissing already, let's celebrate." The pastor, still standing, smiled at the couple. "Miss Lila, will you take Mr. Nathaniel as your lawfully wedded husband?" With a wide smile, Lila answered, "Yes, I will." Pastor Sam turned to Nathaniel. "Mr. Nathaniel, will you take Miss Lila as your lawfully wedded wife?" "Yes, I will," Nathaniel replied confidently. "You may now kiss your bride." Nathaniel and Lila kissed, and the congregation erupted into applause. The celebration began, and the two of them started their new life together. The story ends here. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible stories like this.